Hi, everyone. Just back for a quick addendum to the chess broadcast. I meant to do this at the beginning of at the outset of the broadcast, but I failed to do so because I got so wrapped up talking about the club championship. And usually I have a little habit now that some people seem to like of going through and explaining the pictures on the side. Mike Camissa there is at the top, I'm at the bottom, and in the middle are the Earth and the Moon. And these Earth and Moon are seen by this Discover spacecraft, which sits at the L1 Lagrange point, which is in the direction of the Sun, from the Earth toward the Sun, about 1,000,000 miles, and has an orb. Lagrange points have unusual properties in that they're orbits that are very easy to maintain with very little fuel. And this particular Lagrange point at L1 sits there at that point between us and the Sun, and as the Earth goes around the Sun, stays always between us and the Sun at about that distance. So this spacecraft looks back at the Earth with the Sun over its shoulder, and so it always sees a full Earth and is taking continual series of photographs of the Earth. And every now and then you get an interesting situation, such as seen in this photograph where the Moon doesn't eclipse, it travels in front, it transits across the face of the Earth. And it's interesting for a couple reasons. One is that what you're seeing is actually the backside of the Moon, because we're looking from the other side of the Moon than we usually look at it from the Earth. It's very dark, and that's particularly that's compared to the Earth. The Moon is 3 or 4 times darker than the Earth material is. It's made out of rock that's largely looks like volcanic rock in Hawaii or something, and it's got quite a low reflectance or albedo. And we don't realize this when you look up in the sun. Normally you look up in the night sky, and the Moon looks really bright. You see a full moon or whatever, and it shines very brightly. But that's just because it's being compared to the darkness of the sky around it. But when you compare it to something that's brighter, like the Earth, the surface of the Moon does not look so bright. One other thing probably worthy of note here is that the Moon looks a little larger here than it really is in relation to the Earth. And that's because, as I said, the spacecraft's about 1,000,000 miles out. The Moon is about 250,000 miles. So the Moon is only 3/4 of the distance. That makes it 750,000 miles away from the spacecraft. So it's about 3/4 of the distance that the Earth is. So that makes the Moon appear a bit larger, about 25 to 30% larger than it should. So the Moon is really only 1/4 of the size of the Earth. It's not really 1/3 of the size of the Earth, the way that it's looking at here, like here. So there's not much more to say. It's just an interesting photo, and I'm sure many of you have seen it before, but I wanted to explain why it was sitting there, and sorry that I didn't put it in into the chess stream where I expected it to be. So long.